The views and opinions expressed by hosts and guests on Patriots with Grit do not necessarily reflect those of Patriots with Grit LLC, its founders, and owners.
Get ready for truth bombs and guidance from conservative leaders and entrepreneurs from God-fearing, freedom-loving, truth-telling, patriotic Americans. Welcome to Patriots with Grit. Now let's jump into today's episode with your host, Darren Ross.
Hey everybody, welcome to another awesome episode of Patriots with Grit. It seems like every week, Randy, when we wake up, there's all kinds of weather modification issues going on, whether it's fires, whether it's hurricanes, tornadoes, floods. I mean, all this climate change thing is just getting out of control, don't you think?
Yeah, I think you're a conspiracy theorist.
I think we're going to shoot some holes in climate change today. I mean, yesterday, I woke up, here we are in the middle of Missouri in the Show Me State, 7 a.m. in the morning. I walk outside, and here we are March 5th, and it was like the worst blizzard and the worst. They actually said on the news the night before when I was watching the news at my mom's house, hurricane force winds coming through Missouri, and I've never seen that. But then I woke up and it was like a blizzard and a hurricane at the same time, and I thought to myself, man, this climate change has got to go. But we're going to have a guest on here today that's going to shoot some holes in all this climate change nonsense narrative. In fact, we're going to talk a lot about the LA fires as well as the Maui fires. We have a great guest today, Michelle Melendez from Hawaii. Thanks so much for joining us. I know you've been an advocate for truth as well as health and wellness since 1996. You have written a few books. You're I would say, Randy, she's a pretty aggressive activist over there in that state. What do you think?
It seems like we got a lot of Hawaii activists.
And they're all women. I mean, where's the men? I mean, I guess it's because the men have lost all the testosterone. There's no testosterone left anymore, so the men are kind of becoming women or so. But Michelle, talk to us a little bit about this. I know you and your family have been there for decades. In 2023, in August, Randy and I met a gal from Maui, and she was running for Congress in the state of Hawaii. We had her on the show about 4 days after the fires took place, and after we got done with that, we're like, man, it just doesn't add up. It doesn't make sense. And people are like, oh, you're a conspiracy theorist. You're crazy. I'm like, no, I don't think so. So you have done some research. You've written 3 editions of your latest book about the Maui land grab. Talk to us about what you're seeing over there, and let's educate our viewers and our audience about what really happened in Hawaii with the fires.
Yeah, well, first, mahalo so much for having me on. And yes, I'm the author of Great Maui Land Grab, What Caused the Maui Fire and Is Your Home Next? Is Your Home Next? That title came like right at the end when I was finishing the first edition of this book. And now we have LA, and now we have South Carolina. So this book, it started off with 22 fire anomalies that were very strange. And I'm going to share some of those with you guys. Then the second edition went to 27 fire anomalies. Now the third edition, this is in its third edition, which is available now. It includes 21 LA fire oddities that are like, what? How is that possible? So you can get the book at greatmauilandgrabbook.com. It's also available on Amazon, but at Great Maui Land Grab Book, put truth in the coupon code and you can get 10% off. But I'd love to start off with just a screen share and just get going with showing you guys some crazy anomalies that are like impossible. And I want to start with the LA fires. Can you guys actually let me go back. All right, so this was the LA fire. Both of these pictures are from LA. How do the trees not burn? Like the house is disintegrated into white ash. When you have white ash, that means the fire is really hot, and a natural fire will be black. And it'll leave black soot, and it'll leave a refrigerator and a stove and a toilet. But these are turning homes into white ash and leaving all the trees. The picture on the right with Altadena, this was a screenshot off of a news reporter reporting. And I'm like, how is she not mentioning the trees didn't burn? Like they're even on the both the sides, right and left, you still see the leaves. When I interviewed a arborist, a 48-year arborist, he actually said that the reason why the trees are not burning is because the chemistry of the fire doesn't recognize the organic material. I'll say that again. The chemistry of the fire is not a normal fire. It's a microwave fire. And it doesn't recognize the organic material. So these are Paradise and Tubbs fires, again, showing that the forest doesn't burn in these fires anymore. So these fires happen, they destroy the homes, they disintegrate the homes to nothing, and they leave the entire forest behind. So I don't know how that's possible. Then we
But
have
they deem this a forest fire, and we see
yes.
video of the fire running through the timber. But when it gets to the houses, the timber around the houses aren't burnt.
Well, and everybody that's listening on the podcast, you really need to go watch this on a different platforms where the video is. But it looks like they've just taken these houses and just literally leveled them with bulldozers and almost come in and cleaned them up, because the pads look almost just like they've been stripped clean, just perfectly level. It's not like anything I've ever seen with a fire before. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, and that's actually how they are. They're not like a bull. There's no cleanup. This is the actual the picture on the left. Can you see the cars that melted here? Okay, good. This is exactly the next day. The next day, and the palm fronds are still there. If you've ever had a palm frond and you've put it in a fire, it lights up like a firecracker. I mean, it's a so to have these palm fronds, these palm trees standing there they're dried, but they're not burnt. To have a car with its engine block melted out, the windows are melted too. To have windows melt in a fire is about 2,400 degrees. A regular wildfire is about 12 to 1,400 degrees.
Wow, double?
It's almost double. Yes, correct. It has doubled, but also the thing is they're not calling these forest fires anymore. They're calling these wildfires. So different language. So, and look on the picture on the right, you still see the trees. This is an entire parking lot, you guys, with all the cars just like melted out with their car. The windows are melted, the wheels are melted, but the trees are still standing there, completely leaves all intact. And again, you don't have in a regular fire, you have black soot, not white ash. White ash is something different.
So I have a minor in fire science, and a couple things that I observe here is if you have a wildfire that goes running through the brush, yeah, it will get hot when it hits the trees, and you may get some sparks that blow from the grass over the trees and hit the house. Because I can just see what people are saying. Well, it blew past the trees and it hit the houses, started the roofs on fire. You're still only going to get to that 12 to 1,400 degrees. And you're not going to get that type of incineration. And without a close-up picture, the other thing is I don't know how much of the utilities in those buildings, like copper piping and stuff, have melted down. That's a big indicator that it was much hotter than the 1,200 because copper will not melt. It'll lay there. And when you see this picture here, the wheels, they're aluminum wheels, so they will melt. But I don't remember. I think I saw 1,600 degrees is what aluminum melts at. I'm not for sure on that. But go ahead. I just wanted to kind of touch on that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very strange what's going on. It's not normal. This was a picture from the arborist that I interviewed, and he's got 48 years as an arborist, and he said he's been to over 100 fire locations, and he says maybe a handful are natural, and the rest of them are like this, with a fire hydrant on fire. How does a fire hydrant get on fire? This is Los Angeles. This is a Los Angeles picture.
Well, there has to be something. There has to be something combustible in that valve. I don't know if it's the rubber in the seal, but I don't know. That's very odd.
Yeah. That's why I call it LA Fire Oddities, because I'm like, what's really going down here? This one is another really good one because this is very strange. These two Mazda Miata cars, the first one on the left, completely, again, engine block is dissolved. The glass is melted out. But yet the same exact car in blue is across the street and it's fine. It's completely intact. These cars were across the street from each other, and one of them is gone, and the other one is looks like you could drive it away, and it also has a blue trash can. And I do want to explain why blue doesn't burn in people, because people go, oh, that's a conspiracy theory. That's just happenstance. So let me show you guys. You got a blue trash can, you got a blue car, but also there was in Maui was really more obvious. This is a blue paper ticket where Eric West of Hawaii Real Estate literally just saw that tip of it, the blue in the white ash, goes over, picks it up, and white ash is falling off the paper. And then he found 6 blue t-shirts in the ash, completely intact, no holes, no sin, nothing charred on it, nothing. Then my friend sent me this picture. This is her stove. Her stove was completely on the outside gone. The melted out glass, the warped racks, but look inside. It's completely blue. It's a shiny blue inside, completely fine. Then you obviously have the blue umbrellas. So people go, okay, well, why, what's going on here? Well, actually, let me show you guys 2 more things before I go there and explain to you how and why this is happening. These are bodies. These are bodies, and this first one was oh, this just breaks my heart. This first one, you can see the braids in a regular fire, but look at her feet. Look at her feet. Something was up with the ground because the victim above her, it was like the ground was hotter. Their feet are gone, and I'm sorry I forgot to do a warning about this because this is very disturbing. But you see the fingers, you see the body. This is a toad my friend found. I held this toad. He found this in the burn zone. It's in a leaping position, completely hollowed out. And that's what the arborist said. The arborist said the trees that burned from the inside out were mostly water-bearing trees. The water was on fire. In Maui, this is a picture in Maui. In Maui, 97 boats on the harbor burned. 13 boats survived. I think that's an interesting number. But the organics, the people were like this. Sadly to say, there was a boy found in his home holding his dog, completely looking like this, recognizable. And the mother said she believes God left him that way so that she would recognize him. But that's not how bodies burn in a fire, you guys. That's impossible. Now, this next one's really, really weird. This first one is Maui on the left with this dog where you can see his ears and his nose and his paw pads. And look, he looks like he's in a running position. Animals will not, dogs, cats, they won't run. They'll go and hide and they'll cover themselves because they're afraid. They're not going to be out running in the middle of the road. But he looks like he's, again, like the toad, frozen. This was a Texas, and I wish so much. This was when I first started researching this information. I don't have the source of this, but I actually saw this and this is a screenshot of a Texas fire. And there was behind this bull, there was all of these cows like this, completely charred. This is not normal. This is not a normal fire. So what could do this? Let me show you guys.
Well, let me ask you this.
Sorry.
You said that they burnt from the inside out and they were hollowed out.
Yes.
That sounds like microwave to me.
That's correct. That's where I was going with
well,
that. Yeah.
Before you jump into that, I want to get into the why blue doesn't burn.
Yes, that's actually part of the microwave.
Okay.
So so the next 2 things I'm going to show you. The first one is the Direct Energy Weapons Systems Acquisition Act. This was the Direct Energy Weapons Systems Acquisition Act of 2016 because the Defense Department has been working with direct energy weapons since the 40s and 50s, and they actually spent over $6 billion since the 1960s to bring the direct energy weapons program to fruition, but they couldn't bring it to fruition. So Congress took it over in 2016, and people's tax dollars have paid to bring this direct energy weapons program all the way to fruition. And let me show you a patent, a U.S. patent that does exactly what we've been talking about. Microwave transmission using laser-generated plasma beam waveguide. And this uses a titanium sapphire infrared laser. What color sapphire? Blue. Blue. So what happens is that the wavelength, if something's blue, everything's energy. The wavelength of that blue color is the same frequency and wavelength as the sapphire, the titanium sapphire laser. So what happens, it doesn't absorb the energy. It reflects it. That's why blue isn't burning. because blue is the same frequency and wavelength as the laser, so it thinks it's the same thing. It repels the power. It repels the the power, the
It
energy
doesn't
of the
allow it to
laser.
absorb.
Correct.
So my
Correct. And
question would be,
right.
if I'm no physicist by any means, but if you were wearing all blue sweats, would it still cook you from the inside, or would it reflect the? You'd have to be covered head to toe.
You'd have to be covered head to toe. Yeah. And yeah, for that, I would think, but I'm not sure. I'm not a physicist either. I'm not sure about that because the heat still is there because the trees, the leaves on the trees are very dried where they're at there. So there is heat that the leaves are feeling is happening. They're drying out the leaves, but they're not burning the leaves. So there is a heat situation. Also, the other thing I want to share.
I want to list this patent number here real quick, Michelle, for people that are just listening.
Sure.
The patent number is U.S. Patent 6377436B1, and that's April 23rd, 2002. April 23rd, 2002. So people can check that out.
Correct. Yep. Yes, there's and you can actually, if you guys want to go to just put in direct energy weapons patent in any URL, direct energy weapons patent, you will be shocked at what comes up. They also have direct energy weapons against individual people. Actually, when I first looked that up, direct energy weapon patents, that was the first thing that came up, was direct energy weapons against regular individuals. And then I found this when I was doing a lot of research on.
Wait a
this
minute.
stuff.
Explain that. Against individuals, as in other countries, groups of people, or a singular person?
A singular person or groups of people. There's actually a patent.
Wow.
Let me stop my screen share.
Kind of like an
There's
Andrew Breitbart situation. You know, I mean, we kind of all know how that happened.
There's a patent called God Voice, or the Voice of God. There's a patent called the Voice of God, and it literally puts thoughts into your head. There's a patent that they can use on groups of like a concert, and they can actually calm people down, or they can intensify the people of anxiety or anger in a group. I mean, if you look up, it's crazy. The number of patents for individuals that was, again, the first thing that came up when I looked up direct energy weapon patents in a URL. Look it up. It's scary to think about, but it is happening, and it is available.
I slightly remember it, but remember the concert in Texas?
I remember the one at Mandalay Bay. Yeah.
No, there was one in Texas where kids were dropping dead at the concert.
That's right.
And they were saying, directed energy, but I don't know much about
Probably heat
that.
exhaustion. You know, probably heat exhaustion, Randy. I mean,
think so.
It couldn't be anything but.
Yes. So I wanted to share that, and then I'll go back because I want to share the weather. So they have direct energy weapon patents. Let me show you this too. That's the next one, and it is how many are there? And right now, and there's more than likely more than these, but right now there's Raytheon Technology has the most direct energy weapon patents of 124. Applied Materials 120. MBDA, a European multinational corp, has 64 direct energy weapon patents. Alphabet Inc., which is the parent company of Google, thought that was interesting.
Yep.
62 direct energy weapon patents. The Boeing Company, 59. Today there's over 429, and I got this at globaldata.com. So in the book, it has over 200 sources, and they're sources that normies cannot say that's a conspiracy theorist site. So I was very careful about what I put in there. I want to show you guys a little bit about the weather. The weather that happened in Maui prior to the fire, there was, and this is I got this from, thank you to Maui Community Investigates. They really supported some of this work. They found that 8 months prior to the fire, there was a lot of rain. And then what happens is after rain, you get a lot of vegetation, especially here in Hawaii. And then it was followed by a lot of drought. And that was the same thing that happened in Los Angeles, and you guys, the same thing that happened in South Carolina. And now I just looked it up. 11 months prior to the fire in LA, heavy rain followed by drought. So what do you have? You have rain, then you have which is going to increase the vegetation, and then drought is going to dry everything up. And that's what again what happened in South Carolina, September 2024. They had a tropical storm, and then now they're in a moderate drought, which is not normal for South Carolina to have a drought in the wintertime. They usually get a few inches of rain each month. Also, the really crazy thing about Los Angeles is the wettest month in Los Angeles is normally January. January is normally the wettest month, yet it has these fires and no rain. So for the wettest month of the year, it was very dry this year.
Well, and I want to say too, did you see the video when Trump went out there? He says it looks like it's been hit with something, and we'll talk about that later.
That's correct. Yeah, that's correct. I actually added that into the book because we need to document that for history. This is also really strange, is that the Santa Ana winds, which are normally in November and December, this is according to a senior meteorologist, Ken Clark. He says Santa Ana winds peak for 12 to 24 hours and on rare occasions can persist for a few days. But these winds went on and off for 17 days.
Wow.
In Los Angeles. So the other thing that happened, which was really strange with the weather, was in Maui on August. The fire was August 8th, but on August 7th, there were these linear clouds that were coming over and stopping. These clouds were stopping at the Hawaiian Islands. They weren't going past them. So that happened on the 7th. That also happened on the 8th. And then on the 9th, or I'm sorry, on the 8th, the PM, the time that the fire is really, really going, we get this black line on the satellite image. It does not show Maui. And Maui is this one. I don't know if you can see my cursor, but it's this island right here, and Lahaina is right here. I don't know if you can see that or not. So what could cause this? Let me show you guys that what could cause this is 2 HAARP domes, which we have. We have one here on the Big Island of Hawaii, and it's it's the closest you can get to Maui. It's 60 miles away. And then the Honolulu HAARP dome, which is also on the other side of Maui.
Well, the one on the left looks like it's on a cargo ship. It's mobile.
That's right. It's correct. It's on the Honolulu Harbor. It's on the Honolulu Harbor, and they can literally. There's a patent for this as well, you guys. They're not hiding any of this. This is all for people to find. And this is the patent for using HAARP, a method and an apparatus for altering the Earth's atmosphere or ionosphere, magnetosphere. And what happens is they heat up the particles in the ionosphere to change the weather. And this patent was in 1987. So they've had this technology for a very long time.
Patent number 4686605. 4686605. So, Michelle, it's not really what we've been led to believe. Just some power lines got down and caught some dry vegetation, and the winds took off and just started the massive fire. And it was all just from a utility company that maybe had not maintained their lines. And so there's more to it than that, it sounds like.
Way more. And let me just tell you guys, who owns the Hawaii Electric Company? BlackRock. Who owns the PG&E in California? BlackRock. Who owns the South Carolina? BlackRock. Who owns all those electric companies? They're all owned by the same people, and this is not an accident. This is a picture of over Maui the day before, and this day before, this woman on TikTok was like, "What is this white haze over the entire island of Maui?" And this is thanks to my friend Bruce Douglas, who is part of the Maui community investigation team. But you can see on the right, both sides, there's some type of white haze.
What is it?
So
let's talk about that.
Yeah, possibly this is another patent. Combustible composition for generating aerosols, particularly suitable for cloud modification and weather control and aerosolization process. So this is a patent that was done December 28th, 1971. I don't know if this is what it was. I just know this patent was issued in 1971 for combustible cloud modification. There's so many things about Maui that the people need to know that after Maui, toluene, which is TNT for dynamite, was found in the water. how does toluene get in the water? They had to truck water in for people because the water had the poison in it. Toluene, you can't drink it.
Okay,
So
toluene is extremely flammable, if I remember right. Mm-hmm. And that's crazy because did they find any of that in the LA water? Because that might explain why the hydrants were burning. But the other thing that you mentioned, we know that they shut the water off. So did they inject it with toluene?
I can't even really talk about it, but they actually were directing water to one taro farmer downstream, and they were saying that they need to get his permission to redirect the water back to Lahaina for the fire. So there was no water in the fire hydrants and people's hoses. One guy was saving his house by having a hose on his house, and the water died. LA also, we know that that reservoir, San Ynez, was left empty for almost a year, 11 months, to fix the cover. It could have been holding water while the cover was being fixed, but they didn't hold water. They emptied it out. So none of these county officials responsible for this had any type of reprimandation. The guy responsible for the water, he was moved to another office, and then a month afterwards was moved back. And then he retired, or he quit his job for personal reasons.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing is too, on both LA and Maui, neither one had at the beginning of LA, there was no siren. There was no evacuation warning. This was from a person who was being interviewed. It was one of the first interviews I saw, and I logged that. I sourced it in my book because the guy asks him, when did you get the evacuation notice? And he goes, we never got an evacuation notice. So same thing with Maui. Maui, we have the best warning systems on the planet for tsunamis, and these are meant for any emergency, and it literally says that on their website for wildfires, tsunamis, whatever, but they weren't turned on. In fact, the Maui emergency manager, he was off island. The fire chief was off island. All of these guys, the main guys, were off island, and who was out of the state? The mayor of LA was out of the state. She was in Ghana for a presidential inauguration, and there's also an article that says that after she found out LA was on fire, she stayed for another hour and a half taking pictures for the inauguration and then returned. And it's disgusting that these people these are criminals, in my opinion.
Well, I have to ask you, because on one of the shows that I watched, they were doing some research, and they said they had a recording. I'm not going to say it's legit, but it was her speaking with somebody else and said, I'm only going to be out of office 2 days, but just keep this under your hat. You'll find out why.
I have that too. I have that as well. That was James O'Keefe. And yes, I put that. Yeah. Mm-hmm, yes. And I heard it. It sounds just like her. It sounds exactly like her. And she's not refuting it, so I'm wondering, how did he get this? I don't know. How did it get recorded in the first place? Because what she's also telling this man on the other end, I just want you to be safe. She says, I just want you to be safe. And I hope, and she says, and I hope you can read between the lines.
That's it.
Yeah. Well, Michelle, I believe there was a time when the governor of Hawaii, was off gallivanting around speaking with NATO. Is that correct?
He was speaking. This is what got me started in this, because he went to the United Nations and he started telling people it's because of climate change. So I'd love to go into the climate change narrative now with you guys, because that is absolutely what they need us to believe in climate change. You guys, they absolutely need us to believe in climate change. And the reason for that is because of what their answer is to climate change that's going to save us all.
Oh, so save the world.
Show you.
Save the planet.
Because the climate change is coming to get us. And the reason also, let me just say this really quickly, is that let me go back onto that screen share, is that it used to be global warming. Remember when it used to be global warming?
Oh, yeah.
Now climate change because, you guys, I'm going to show you the Earth is cooling, not warming.
Well,
They
yesterday
had
morning here in Missouri, it was
changed the name.
cooling. It was a hurricane blizzard combo, and it was like the coolest it's ever been, probably in March. I had never felt anything like it.
And it was 55 the day before.
Yeah, it's supposed to be 78 next week. So, I mean, it has to be climate change, Randy. I mean, there's nothing else that can explain it.
Well, it's interesting because they need us to believe in climate something in order to get their agenda across. This is, you guys, anybody can look this up. World Climate Declaration. Put World Climate Declaration into a URL and you will find this. 1,900, and now it's 77 signatures. The last time I checked, it was almost 2,000 signatures. These are scientists around the world that signed a declaration, World Climate Declaration, that there's no climate danger. And what that declaration states is right here. And it says, to believe the outcome of a climate model is to believe what the model makers have put in. This is precisely the problem of today's climate discussion to which climate models are central. Climate science has degenerated into a discussion based on beliefs, not on sound critical science. Should not we free ourselves from the naive belief in immature climate models? These scientists from around the world, they're basically saying this is not true. There was a lawsuit against the Oscar-winning film An Inconvenient Truth because a British teacher did not want to show this film to his students. He wouldn't show it, so he took them to court because they were trying to mandate him showing this film. He said this film is not correct. He took it to court. A British judge ruled that there were 9 different errors, and I have all the errors of this book in the book I wrote. Then the couple other things I want to share is about John Coleman. John Coleman, you guys, he was the first weatherman on Good Morning America in the 1970s. He founded the Weather Channel. He won the Meteorologist of the Year in 1984, I think it was. He's literally been on CNN, on anybody that would have him, and he's saying there's no climate danger. There's no significant global warming. And if anybody would know about the weather, I think the founder of the Weather Channel would know about what the heck is going on with the weather. This is also from National Library of Medicine, August 4th, 2020. It says modern grand solar minimum will lead to terrestrial cooling. Terrestrial is Earth. Will lead to Earth cooling, which is happening, not warming. That's why they changed the name from global warming to climate change. And then this is from Dr. David Dilley. Dr. David Dilley is a 50-year meteorologist and climatologist professor with the U.S. Air Force. And he literally talks about what's called the Milankovitch cycle, which is how the Earth goes around the sun, and that the Earth was closer to the sun 8,000 years ago, and we're now going toward the global cooling. So that's why they had to change the name from global warming to climate change and get everybody to try to believe climate change is happening. This is about climate change. And then
the narrative is falling apart. The warming's not happening, so they have to change the verbiage.
Exactly. And then our governor, what governor goes to the United Nations to speak about anything? Okay, he's a governor. He's not anything a leader of the world country. He's a governor. So he goes to the United Nations, and the only thing he says about the Maui fire is all climate change. It's all climate change, and that's when I started my journey because I'm like, he's lying, and this was an attack on the American people. And I just want to let everybody know: have a to-go bag. We don't know. I don't know how to stop this. We don't know how to stop this. And so I always tell people, have a to-go bag in your car with extra food and water, and tell your family, give your family an emergency plan, because we don't know who's next. We do know that these are smart city areas. Maui, smart city; LA, smart city; Myrtle Beach, smart city; Greenville over in South Carolina, and Columbia, South Carolina, all smart cities. Asheville, North Carolina, smart city. And so that's who gains. And I don't know how much more time we have, but I can show you.
Yeah, you can.
I want to ask one question here, Michelle. How did the death tolls go down instead of going up?
Way back in 1963, the FDA banned a potential treatment for cancer. It was called Laetrile or B17. It was so popular that over 70,000 Americans went to Mexico, got treated, or smuggled it back into the United States. This was according to Newsweek. Laetrile has always been under attack by big pharma, big government, and big media. What's that sound like, Darren?
Well, Randy, I believe it sounds like ivermectin. Laetrile is naturally found in somewhat like 1,200 foods, including apricot seeds. And it's one of those things that Big Pharma tries to hide for one reason and one reason only, because there's no money in it for them.
So then in the 70s, Sloan Kettering, which is an American cancer research institute, it found that Laetrile could be successful in preventing and stopping cancer growth.
Today, we're giving you the source of Laetrile, which comes in the form of capsules, powder, and seeds. On the website, you can go to rncstore.com/grit. That's rncstore/grit. Get all kinds of research there, plus take advantage of a nice discount. That's rncstore.com/grit.
Oh my gosh. Oh gosh. Okay, first you have to know that the coroner in Maui is the police chief, who is John Pelletier, who was the same police chief that was in the Mandalay Bay situation that was happening there that left a lot of questions unanswered. And they actually had to change laws in order to get him to be able to be the police chief in Maui. They changed the laws about 6 months prior to him being police chief. So he is the coroner. So I just want to say that. So, and he's the one that signs the death certificate and says how people died. So the reason why they say that they had 115 deaths, and then it went down to 97, then it ended up at 103 deaths, official deaths. And so what he said was, or even what the governor said, was because when the FBI got involved, that they were accidentally counting bodies twice. And so that's why the death count went down.
Sounds like COVID deaths.
Yeah, exactly. But let me tell you this as well. They had inexperienced people. So I don't agree with that. I think hundreds, if not thousands of people died. Ellie Cochran, who's a state representative, said that in one house, 2 blocks from her, there was a family of 10 that died. The acting police chief, who was picking up the bodies the day after the fire, found 50 the first day. 50 in the first day. And so 102 after a month of going through the bodies is just not possible. There were also people who were not qualified picking up remains. There was a guy who took the Maui police chief to the police commissioner, made a complaint because his contract with the Maui police chief was he's been working for them for 12 years, and his job was to pick up human remains. And he said that he was not being allowed to, and that there were also recruits picking up human remains and putting human remains in baggies. And this is what another thing why the second edition of my book includes the mishandling of human remains, which is absolutely horrific for families to think about. Some families are not sure if they have the correct family member that was given to them.
So they're not doing DNA or anything on them.
Yeah, the whole thing was just, I hate to say it, but it was a total shit show. There was so many mistakes.
So there's a lot of gaps here. You just said there was a family of 10 that burned up in their house. Mm-hmm. People, I wouldn't say for the most part, are going to shelter in their house when the water is just down the road. Why weren't people running for the beach and jumping in the water?
It was so fast. I mean, this is even what the governor said. He said that the fire went through Maui in 17 minutes. I mean, it was really fast, and people didn't know. My friend who survived, thank God, she saw the fire. She looked outside her window and she smelt it, and she saw it. Ellie Cochran smelt it, got in her car. Ellie Cochran, the state representative, she actually called the police chief and said, should we evacuate? And the police chief goes, I'm sorry, not the police chief, fire chief, the fire chief who was out of town. And the fire chief goes, why? What do you need to evacuate for? She goes, there's a fire. So he didn't even know. And he calls her back 10 minutes later and says, yes, evacuate. So she's driving down her road, and she said there was one point where it was complete pitch black, where it was just black smoke and she couldn't see the road, but she knew the road was straight, so she just kept driving straight and finally got out. But we think it was so fast. And also, what is really strange is that there was a friend of mine who works for national security told me that one of her friends had contacted her, and he was asked to go in, had to sign a non-disclosure, which all of these people that picked up human remains, I can't say all because I don't know if all, but a lot of them. I know boat captains that had to sign non-disclosures picking up human remains. But this person, who again is a friend of mine who works for national security, he said that he was picking up bodies out of the water that were in a swimming position. They were frozen in a swimming position.
So
So
hey,
they
I
were,
want to
that's
Peggy,
it.
talking about the water real quick, and then I'll let you get back into this. How far was the typical Maui resident from water? Because Randy said, why wouldn't they run to the ocean? I mean, give us an idea how far the ocean is from a lot of these Maui residents.
Oh, it's not far. It's not far at all. I mean, there was my sister for her birthday went to Maui and stayed in the hotel that's right across from the harbor, right across from the banyan tree. It's not far, and you would think so. You would think,
Are you talking
let's
like
go.
100 yards? You're talking about 2 miles?
Well, it depends on the house,
No,
but
no, no,
3 or 4
not
blocks
miles.
max.
Yeah, it's not miles. It's blocks. It's blocks.
So you could run from your house, your apartment, your hotel there, or even if you were in a wheelchair, you get there in probably 3 or 4 minutes to the water.
Yes, you could, but this was also, a lot of the fire was at night. Well, it started in the afternoon, and then it went into the evening, and it burned all the way through the evening. And there was no alarm system. There was no, they showed some cops going to people's homes, but that wasn't happening. My friend, again, like I said, she saw the fire outside her window. She literally just left, and she said that she got in her car, and thank God the key broke, because it made her get out of the car and run down the street. She ends up finding her daughter that was in the car. There was a cop there too that was stopping people. And she said, she told her daughter, go around the cop because the fire is coming. And it was so fast. It was so fast. I mean, there's so many unanswered questions around it.
Well, how about the whole thing about the police shutting down certain roads and funneling everybody into one spot?
That's correct. And that happened. And at first the police chief denied it. And then he couldn't deny it because it was so many people testifying and showing pictures and showing videos that the police were blocking the roads, and they blocked them all the way to Front Street. And then you see Front Street cars, and the thing is, was all these cars, including LA, a lot of people in LA actually got out and got out of their cars, but these cars on Front Street, their doors weren't open. So if a fire's coming and you see it, you're going to run out of your door and get out. But this is the same with Paradise. This is the same thing that happened in Paradise. The fire ran people down. It literally ran people down. That is not a normal wildfire, forest fire. It's some type of direct energy weapon that people. There's even a body that's in my book, so warning. And the body is lying there, and its right hand is floating off of the ground. It's floating off the ground. Half the body is normal, and the other half of the body is a line. There's a line down his body, and his right hand, which is completely charred and floating off the ground. Okay, you don't. How do you have a arm floating off the ground? If you're burned, it's going to be a skeleton. You're going to burn the skin's going to burn from the outside in, and you're going to have a skeleton remaining, if you have a skeleton at all, and it doesn't just turn to
The
ash.
only thing I would throw in there is bodies when they burn, all the ligaments contract, so you will get some contortion. But when you talked about burning from the inside out versus a body that's been in a fire, will have that black look, but the torso will split open. It ruptures open. And that's what's crazy. That dog had a little bit of a rupture, but and I'm telling you, it almost looks like it's instantaneous. It's not a slow cook. It's boom, you're done.
And I really hope that that's what happened, because just to be kind to these victims, because what happened was not okay. And the other thing too is that there was 3,000 children that were in the Lahaina Luna School District, and the school was out that day because there was no electricity. The electricity company is being blamed for it all, but there was no electricity starting from the morning of August 8th. But yet the electric companies are now being blamed for it. So the children were left at home, and 2 weeks after the fire, there was about 548 children that re-enrolled in the Lahaina Luna School District, and 434 that enrolled in private school, but over 2,000 children did not re-enroll in any school.
Yeah, where are they?
So exactly, where are they? And some people believe that whole families have died, like my Ellie Cochran, who said that her whole family perished together. I do know that there were suicides, that parents had committed suicides. I don't have the numbers for that. I couldn't find any of the numbers.
So they didn't get burned up? They just went ahead and committed suicide?
Well, this was after the fire, when children had died. When their children had died, there was a couple that committed suicide because both of their children had died in the fire. So that wasn't being reported. That was actually from different locals that I heard that from. And then when I was there visiting an Uber driver, actually, we were talking about it, and he said one of his friends had to leave the island because their children were so distraught they couldn't go to school, because he said that all their friends were gone, and they just had to leave the island. So they left.
So my question, my thing was, why aren't people saying, hey, I don't know where my nephew is, or, we don't know where he's at. I mean, people have got, if the whole families are gone, I understand, but there's got to be some people say, hey, I haven't found my nephew.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that 100%. The only thing I can say, I don't know. I know that a lot of Hawaiians don't trust the government. I know also that there was a lot of people who were undocumented in Maui, because the undocumented workers are the ones that work the hotels. So, and also the people that were missing people, they only had the missing names. If the person giving the name gave their first and last name and the first and last name of the person missing, they were counted. But if they didn't, then they weren't counted. I don't really have the answer to that, because all I know is the numbers aren't right. I know that I went to the memorial, and there was 150 crosses, 102 on the official count, 3 children that died. That's impossible. Even the governor, in one of his first interviews, told the reporter asked about the children, and the governor said, "We are telling our team to expect a lot of children to have died." And then there's 3. So I don't know. I don't have the answers. And that's the other thing that the book says. My book says, you're not going to find all the answers here, but what we want an investigation, because there's so many things that are not right, and so many questions left unanswered, that you cannot put this on that this was normal. So,
well, Michelle, what state right now is Hawaii in? I mean, have they built back? Is it still like what we saw in the photos? What's it look like now?
Oh, okay. Let me. I took that one out, but I have it on another thing. So let me show you guys, because it's completely everything's gone. But I'll show you this one right here. Screen share.
So they dozed everything out?
Oh yeah.
Have they built back anything yet?
A little bit, but so this was 14 months later.
Wow, that just looks like where a shopping mall used to be, and it's just totally scraped off clean.
Yeah, and then but what's worse than that is that there's a red clay, and then there's gravel, and gravel on top is what the homeowners need to remove the gravel before they build. They weren't the ones that put it there, but they need to remove it before they build. And they don't have it. They're not telling them where to put it, and they need to pay for its removal on their own dime.
Why do they need to remove the gravel?
They said the planning department said that they need to remove it in order to put the foundation, and they said that they put it there because of toxicity. So they put it. So they're making it really hard for people to rebuild. When I went there a couple weeks ago, there was 3 buildings that were being built in Lahaina, and there was more, about 6 buildings outside of Lahaina. They also have these small, tiny homes that were built. For this part's disgusting. This part's disgusting. They actually gave hundreds of millions of dollars to rebuild. I'm sorry, not to rebuild, but to build tiny houses for fire victims, when they could have used that money and given it to the fire victims to start rebuilding their own homes.
So they're wanting to make it so difficult for a typical property owner and so costly that they just kind of give up and walk away, and then probably they'll get the property for pennies on the dollar, is my best guess. Yeah. Is that what you're thinking?
That's correct. That is correct. Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
I'm honestly surprised they're letting them rebuild if they're wanting to do their 15-minute city.
Yeah, some of them are and some of them aren't. It's still really challenging. It's still really challenging over there. I mean, in 1 year, they gave 1 building permit in 1 year. So now they're giving more, but I mean, it's taken a while, and they're just waiting people out because some of their insurance, a lot of the insurance, they didn't have enough insurance to rebuild. There was, like, I believe it was many had they needed 40% more insurance, more money than they had, and they're waiting people out. Is what I believe they're doing, and they're also not giving any permits to rebuild on the coast. And they're claiming climate change, you guys. That's the climate change narrative.
Oh. But I bet you they'll build commercial buildings right there, though.
And there already are commercial buildings that are still on the ocean front in other areas. So if there's already commercial buildings in other areas, why can't they let Lahaina build? And the thing is people, I just wanted to say one thing about the water level. The water level doesn't tell you if the ocean is rising or not. It's actually the platonic plates in the ocean. The platonic plates are the ones that create the elevation of water, not the ocean, the seashores. So it's a really interesting thing, but what they're saying is completely false around.
Michelle, the people that are still living there, that have been there for the natives or whatever, what's their consensus of everything? I mean, are they believing what the media says? Are they kind of like-minded like us here, the people that have common sense and truth tellers, or where's their stance on all this?
I think honestly that it's so much trauma that they want to just find some go back to normal, of some type of normalcy, because I have spoken with some people and they definitely know something was off and not correct, but also I think it's a lot of trauma. I mean, I can't imagine trying to survive in a fire like what happened, and having your entire, families, and a lot of them don't want to talk about it. They don't want to go against the government in the narrative. So it's really challenging. It's really challenging. But my goal, because this isn't over. This isn't just Maui. It's not just LA. It's not just South Carolina. These attacks are happening all over the world. And the more people that understand, and that's why I wrote in my book, the chapter 10 is Who Owns America, and why this is why this is happening. And who owns America are the elite bankers that run this country. This is not the United States of America. It's United States Corporation, as it has been since the Civil War. Since the Civil War, the banking elite families funded both sides, North and South, of our Civil War. And then after our Civil War, we were bankrupt. The country was bankrupt, and they collateralized the United States of America and gave it to the bankers. And that's why it turned into the United States Corporation. And that's why everything is corporatized. So, it's really hard for people to believe, and a lot of people just want to put food on the table for their children and pay their bills, but that's the rat race that they put us in to keep people from caring about their freedom. They put us in the rat race of just barely making it, so we don't look at what's really happening and how much freedom has been taken from us. We are living men and living women under God, who gave us unalienable rights that cannot be taken away by any government agency. And these government, I think they're satanic demons. They don't want us to know. They don't want us to fight. They don't want us to stand up for our rights.
Well, there's a few other things I want to touch on just real quick before we have to part ways. So we go back to the winds. We've had a meteorologist make a comment. Oh, it was just that's typical. Like winds come out of the mountains, and then I've had normies tell me, well, yeah, they've been seeding the air forever, the skies forever for rain production, but when I bring up HAARP, they call that nonsense. So I just want to pull that out there that normies are calling me out on that stuff, and the other part of that is, here's what I always think. I go that one step down granular. Who's pulling the trigger? If this is a military, if that's who normally runs this stuff, I mean, who's getting paid off and who's pulling the trigger to actually shoot this to the ground?
Yep. I'll share. Let me share the Weather Modification Act first.
Yep.
Did I not share this yet? I must have missed it. This is the Weather Modification Act of 1976. And this was a review and analysis of research efforts and needs in weather modification technology. And this was in 1976. And the very first patent for weather modification was in 1891. So let me see if I can find that one.
It was that far back?
It was that far back.
How did they do that? They didn't fly in the 1800s, did they?
We do not understand this world. I'm just going to tell you that right now.
Well, you know what? I shouldn't even have said that.
Remember Sean Hibbler?
I know. So there is, if people don't understand. Oh, go ahead. I'll let you go, and I'll finish up.
Okay, so I can't find the patent right now, but if you look up rain modification patent, the first weather modification patent, it'll be in 1891 for rain. And it was to seed clouds, and there was, and you can, this is a graph that shows 1891 right there, and the most patents were in the 70s, weather modification patents, and the 90s, but now they don't really show us a lot of patents. You can look at freepatentsonline.com, put in weather modification, and it'll come up, and so they've been messing with our weather for a long time. And the other thing I want to share is that if they wanted these fires out, they could have them out, you guys. They could have them out. There's a thing called, I'll undo that real quick. There's a thing called Operation Popeye. Operation Popeye was in World War II, where they seeded clouds over the Ho Chi Minh Trail in Vietnam, and they made it rain for days, and the soldiers called it Operation Mud. So all they need is just, they need mostly clouds to seed the clouds, but if there's no clouds, they need just some type of moisture in the air that they can create clouds and then make it rain. So if they wanted these fires out, I do believe they can make it out. And honestly, when your second question about who's pulling the trigger, I think it's so many different agencies and I think this is all because everything's compartmentalized and nobody knows who's doing what and what the agenda is. But so many different departments had to be doing their part in order to make this work. I honestly, this country is infiltrated. I'm just going to say that when 80% of our Congress has dual citizenship with Israel, and they're constantly, saying, and I don't want to get into Israel and Jews, but we could talk about the Jesuits and the Roman and the Catholic Church and all of it. But
sounds like she used to come over to Missouri at the Show Me State for a while and do a little bit of education. Randy, what do you think?
I think so.
Yeah, I'm going to be speaking at the Red Pill Expo again this year.
Oh, you are?
This is my third time speaking.
Is that G. Edward Griffin?
Expo. Yes.
Nice. Where is it this year?
They haven't told us. Yet. The rumor is Tulsa, Oklahoma, but they're
really? It was South Dakota, I think, last year.
Yeah, and that's what I heard. But here's something to keep our eye on. I was told, or I'm not. Somebody of authority was on TV talking about Tulsa, Oklahoma is targeted as a smart city.
Probably, yeah. All the big ones, all the big cities are, I believe.
Well, speaking of being targeted, you've written this awesome book. Let's go to your book again and give the title, give the subtitle. Have you been targeted at all since you were so outspoken and you've written 3 editions of this book?
Yes and no. I was followed when I first started speaking out against COVID, but I actually
Followed
move
like
around a
what?
lot.
Just people like just running around in their car following you, or like following you on the street? What do you? What's your interpretation
In
of
my
followed?
in the car, and I didn't know that until I met with my friend who works for national security, and we were sitting, and then some weird things happened, and she said, "Michelle, I think you're being followed." And so she told me, and I didn't know, and so she gave me some tips about how to keep myself safe. So I've been doing that.
So the title of the book again is Great Maui Land Grab: What Caused the Maui Fire and Is Your Home Next? You said you get that on Amazon or the Great Maui Land Grab book.com, correct?
Yeah, greatmauilandgrabbook.com is cheaper than Amazon, and if you put truth in the coupon code, you'll get 10% off at greatmauilandgrabbook.com. This book is really great, especially for normies, because everybody wants to know about what happened, and with Maui when they see this. But what's more important than that is the book actually shares who owns America and why this is happening. So, and it does have some positive things at the end, because I do think we are going into what's called a fourth turning. There's a reset that's happening with our society. And I think that if we follow our guided intuition, our hearts, we create a better and stronger relationship with our higher power, that we're going to be okay. And it's going back, returning to God, whatever God is for you. That's the answer, you guys. That's the answer. It's getting off the television. It's stop watching all of the violence and all of the things that don't make us feel good about ourselves, and we get into a higher relationship with our higher power. Clean up your relationships with your family and your friends. Clean them up. Just say sorry, forgive. Our job right now is to return to love and return to remembering who and what we are. We're living men and women under God, not under government.
Michelle, also give us your website too, other than where people can get your book. Where can they go to find you and keep up with what you're doing?
My website is Blossom Inner Wellness, Blossom, and then Inner, INNER Wellness. You can follow me on YouTube, Blossom Inner Wellness, on Rumble, and also blossominnerwellness.com. That's where, if you go to blossominnerwellness.com, you can sign up for my free Freedom School, where I have a lot of information about how we are enslaved and what to do about it. So blossominnerwellness.com. And mahalo so much again for having me.
Well, we want to say thank you for coming on here and sharing truth. We knew within 3 or 4 days that after the Maui fire, Rainey and I had this conversation, especially after talking to Sheila Walker from Maui, that something wasn't right. It just smelled funny. And we knew, and then, like you said, California, and then South Carolina, and then you get into the stuff in North Carolina. And it seems like so much in so condensed amount of time. It just doesn't make sense. But we just want to thank you for coming on here and sharing this. And again, I would recommend people grab your book. It looks like an awesome book. I think, Randy, do I need another book?
Probably not. You probably don't have room for it.
I don't need any more books, but books are like my drug. I don't do a lot of other bad habit type things, but I love to read and I love to spend money on books. So I think I'm going to have to grab it, Michelle. So appreciate having you come on here. Real quick, give our audience and our viewers one good piece of advice before you leave us today.
Get into nature. Get into nature, get into nature. Nature will absolutely increase your energy, and it'll release depression, and it'll release anxiety. Hugging trees, touching a tree, just touch it. Just put your feet on the ground if you don't have snow. But getting into nature is really important, and it's off the computer. Put your cell phone in your car and just walk in a park and listen to the birds. Close your eyes and listen to nature.
I'm guessing you probably leave your cell phone in the car in your home. You don't want to take it with you when you're hugging a tree. Is that right?
Yes, don't take it with you. But it's mainly getting back into the higher frequency. We haven't been told what this world is, and there's so many things else I can share about you. The pyramids are not what they say. There's so many things. This empty space is not empty. It's a frequency field, and that's why when you get into nature, you raise your frequency, and then that actually helps you have a better life. It actually brings things to you that you want. So raising your frequency is the easiest and quickest way is to get into nature.
Perfect. Well, Michelle Melendez, thank you so much for coming on here. Appreciate it. Hope to have you back for an update further down the road. Take care, my friend.
All right. Mahalo.
All right. See ya. Well, thanks so much for watching another awesome episode of Patriots with Grit. If you would, go to patriotswithgrit.com, drop your first name and email. We'll keep you guys updated on new shows coming out. We're not going to spam you with all kinds of crazy emails or offers or anything like that. Also, like, follow, subscribe, and share. If you would, give us a 5-star review over on Apple Podcasts, and make sure to comment on all the shows.
And it's absolutely important that you give us a thumbs up for a like. That really helps the algorithms and helps us grow. Be sure to hit that notification button so you'll know when a new episode pops up.
Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you guys in the next episode. Take care.